Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new, welcome. We're gonna get back into more Beck's reaction. Now, this is gonna be the last part. I'm sorry that I had to break it up. It was just very long, so we're gonna get through it, and then we're gonna move on to the foodie video. So let's get into it and see what the last couple questions are, shall we?
I was in an abuse relationship with a narcissist before, and one day it just clicked, and I realized I was relieved to not have to see him. What was the what was the moment that made you go, I don't want to be around her anymore. I have to get out of this, because that moment is a total game changer.
There wasn't a specific one moment, but there had just been so many different things that had happened and things just snowballed. And then we had that big argument. And then after that, I left, and then I did feel that sense of relief that you're talking about.
Honestly, the reason why I feel so much for Beck is because I see a lot of myself in them, and I used to be someone who would kind of just let anyone and everyone walk all over me, and now I kind of gotten to the point in my life where it's like, either you bring positivity in my life or you're no longer in my life. I'll just cut you out. And I have become just very short with a lot of people these days, and it's not really aggressive, it's more so just assertive, where it's like, I'm not going to be dealing with the disrespect, and if you can't respect me, you need to leave. That's it. I don't want you in my life anymore.
I would ask, did you truly not care about her size when you first started dating? And did you ever get frustrated talking to her because of her lack of education and vocabulary?
I was shocked and alarmed whenever I first met her and realized her size, but I wasn't trying to be judgmental about it. It wasn't that I would get frustrated, it was more amusing than anything. And the only thing that was really frustrating would be when she would think that something was right when it obviously wasn't. So either I would have to Google it or she would have to.
Oh, I've been in those situations. Like, yeah, definitely. Well, you have to find out who's right by Googling it. And if you're the person who happens to be right, you can't brag about it, because if you do brag, then it's going to be an argument. But then they'll shove it in your face every single time you're wrong. And, oh, thank God I'm not dating anymore. It's just, it is so much easier being single. It really is.
I don't remember if you told us or not, but what was the incident that caused your family to intervene? Never heard of a family intervening for that. Never come across it.
It was a lot of different things, but whenever my family started seeing less of me, they were concerned.
I am really happy to know that Beck's family did see a shift in them, and they're like, right, we're concerned about the situation. Is everything all right? Do you need help? You know, is there something wrong? And my parents were kind of the same way too, but it was the opposite end of the spectrum, where I went to therapy because I wasn't depressed, but I was kind of miserable in a way, and I was dealing with relationship problems, friendship problems. I was dealing with my morbid obesity, and I just hated myself and I hated everything around me. And it wasn't until my therapist was like, you don't have to struggle, right? They're like, this isn't permanent. This isn't something you're stuck with. Like, you don't have to stay in this situation. You can be happy. You can cut those people out of your life. You can deal with the toxicity. You can set boundaries. You can, make, your life better. And it wasn't until I sat down with myself and I said, what do I need and not what do I want? And that was when I was like, all right, I need to fix my ED. I need to fix my mental health. I need to fix my relationships with my friends and family. And the people that said, no, I don't really like these boundaries, I said, well, I don't like you as a person. Out. And I cut off the mass majority of family, friends, and even my relationship. I said, nope, not doing it anymore. You are not welcome in my life.
Were you ever embarrassed walking around while she was on a scooter and asking you to take her pic for a thumbnail? That's in victims. You had to see how big she clearly was, and her dumb laugh acting all smug.
Yes, I was extremely embarrassed when she would have me take pictures of her on the scooter for thumbnails. The whole hanging out with her in the scooter, walking around Walmart for hours was embarrassing enough. But it wasn't the scooter that was embarrassing, because I've walked around Walmart with other people who were riding scooters. And what was embarrassing about it was that the cart would be full of stuff, but then she would have me go get a new scooter when the scooter she was on would die. But I would have to ride it back to her and then switch all of her items over from the dead cart to the one that worked. And she would just ride off and keep shopping and leave the dead scooter where it was sitting.
Oh, you know, Amber is the type of person to take something off the shelf, not want it, and then put it back in any random location. Like, they're not going to go, two steps to the side to put it back in the right place. They're just going to throw it on the shelf somewhere. I hate those people.
Has she been physically abused with you or admitted to being abused with other partners? I'm guessing she didn't. Although she admitted to Casey that she hit Crystal.
No, and I just found out about her admitting that to Casey, and I had no idea. I'm shocked she admitted to anything because she really doesn't like taking accountability.
I didn't know she admitted it to Casey. Like, I know the Ask FN questions, and that's all I really know. And it's just thinking about Amber telling Casey that, dude, like, posting it online is one thing, but admitting that you abused someone to other people, like, that's, and then to go on and do it to other people too, because, like, apparently wifey as well. Like, I don't trust Alexis, but at the same time, why would Alexis bring that up? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
I'd like to know if Amber had her lie about anything. She did with Destiny. Phone calls, test results, surgeries, diagnoses. I'd also like to know if Amber was ever physical with Beck. She was She was outed as being physical with Jade as well. Sorry, yeah, physical with Jade. Destiny outed her with the code red, and we know about Crystal and Casey. God, it's a proper pattern, isn't it? It's hard for me to imagine Amber's song would change with Beck. I'd also like to let Beck know I'm so incredibly proud of you, sweetheart. From the bottom of my heart, you can hear in your voice how much better you sound mentally, and it's so refreshing to hear. I'm so glad you're doing so much better.
I don't think I can remember of any time that she would have me lie about phone calls or test results or surgeries or diagnosis. There were times that she would have me lie to friends and family and stuff about things that she would say about them.
Why maintain a relationship in which you're going to constantly talk shit about someone behind their back? And there's a difference between blowing off steam and just venting and then straight up shit talking someone, because venting is something that may upset someone, but it's not something that would destroy the relationship. Where if you're constantly shit talking someone, yeah, that's a good chance that that's going to destroy the relationship. And Amber knowing that she doesn't want certain things to get out, like, that's really two-faced, Amber.
I have said this before, but I do think had she been more mobile, she probably would have been physical with me. And thank you so much for the kind words. It really means a lot.
There's also the fear of, like, ending up alone, and Amber was in the worst position she had ever been in. So, Beck may have only been her only option in Amber's eyes. So, like, I can understand why Amber thought maybe I shouldn't go to that level, but then obviously it came back because, she potentially did it to wifey too, so.
My question is, did Beck ever feel that there were times when Amberlynn would sabotage them when it came to food, meals, or weight loss?
I'm not sure if it was sabotage. We would start a diet and she would immediately want fast food, so it would set us back. When I was trying to diet on my own and she would not be dieting with me, I would have that constant temptation around me, so I would just give in to it.
And that's another reason why I kind of advocate for going to therapy, because it's always going to be there. Like, that want to just eat everything around you, it's never going to go away, but you can manage it with coping mechanisms that you learn in therapy, and you can talk it out. And it does help you. It really does. Like, it does wonders, because there is no way in hell that I could have achieved what I did without therapy.
Has Amber ever admitted to lying about the Rain and Petals eavesdrop situation? Accused Casey of grape, and then did a slam poetry reading about it.
No, she's never admitted that to me, but I don't think she would ever admit something like that to me, especially if it made her look bad.
I mean, yeah, that kind of makes sense, because, like, why would you tell your current partner that you lied about your ex-partner committing one of the worst crimes imaginable? Like, there's not really any way of fixing that relationship afterwards, because that's going to be a situation where Beck's always going to think, oh shit, is today the day that I'm going to be, labeled a grapist because, I didn't get food for Amber, I didn't do what Amber wanted today, or I didn't, have, certain interactions with her today. Is she going to falsely accuse me next?
I'm so curious about how much Beck and Amber were recognised in public. Did people approach either Beck or Amber often? Do people approach Beck now?
Yeah, there were plenty of times that we got recognized out in public. There were plenty of times that people would come up to say, "Are you Amber Lynn? It's nice to meet you," but there was nobody flirting with her or anything like that.
Not back out here with a shade, like, yeah, Amber does get recognized, but nobody's flirting with that.
And as for do I get noticed or approached now? No, it's only happened maybe once or twice in a year.
For Beck, have you ever seen her hit any of her pets? But did she ever do anything like that? Just anything like that with the pets?
If I hear the word yes come out of Beck's mouth, I am going to lose my shit, just straight up. I'm just putting a warning out there right now.
Did she ever clean the litter boxes?
No, she did not hit the pets. And no, she never cleaned the litter boxes. I always did that. Whenever we first got together and I would visit, there was this room upstairs where the litter boxes would be, but it also had an extra bed in it. And the litter box was just so, it needed cleaned so bad that there was feces on the bed and on the floor.
Yep, not even surprised. Like, straight up, that is Amber through and through.
Please could you describe a typical binge monster episode for us?
She would beg. Sometimes she would just be like, "Please, please, will you go get me this or that?" It would just sort of turn into like a guilt trip. Like, "Why don't you love me? Why don't you want me to be happy?" And she would just kind of be a bit of a bully about things if she wasn't getting her way.
Honestly, again, like, yeah, no surprises there. Like, that makes the most sense. Also, like, I would not be surprised if this is what Foodie also does to Salah, because, like, probably not the guilt tripping of love, because let's face it, there is no love there.
What was the dynamic when Wifey moved into the apartment? Did she do anything to help the household, or did she just pacify Amber?
Before Wifey moved in, I stopped staying at the apartment and my stuff was just there. So I really don't know what it was like around there all the time. But I do know whenever I would come back and like periodically get my things, then I would sort of see how things did work with between Wifey and Amber. But Wifey was usually just on her laptop working and stuff. So I didn't see her do a whole lot, except for she would take Twinkie out. She would walk her. I did see that.
Honestly, that situation was just a shit show from the beginning, because how are you going to have both, like, Wifey moving into an apartment with your current partner while their ex-partner is also there, and Amber, why are you going to bring someone into, you know, not only your home, but Beck's home too? Like, the hell's wrong to you?
When did you realise that Amber was not the victim, but the cause of her issues? Yeah, I remember in the very beginning, you saying you saw lots of hate comments, negative comments, and you thought, she can't be that bad. Which is nice of you to look for the good and think, no, come.
I'm sure I started seeing things right away. But I think it was periodically over time that things built up and I started noticing more of like when people wouldn't stay in her life, you know, she was always the common denominator, and how she would say that she wanted help with mental health or weight loss, but then she wouldn't get it. I started to realize that she was the one that was standing in her own way.
I realized very quickly that Amber was the problem, because I watched a video of, I believe, Repsion, and then that led me to Ready to Glare, and then after Ready to Glare, I saw, I think it was either Apathetic Facts or maybe Karina Kaboom. Like, it was either one of those, and then I found the Narc Alert, the Ankle came along, and then I also started watching Orange Queen for a bit, and that kind of just gave me the entire impression about both Amber and Foodie, and I'm like, oh, after like 2 videos, I'm like, yep, they're definitely the problem. Like, there is so many issues from these people.
What happened during the infamous night when they shared a house with Eric and Ricky? Everybody got drunk and suddenly everybody needed a change and moved out. Oh yeah.
I do remember that night that we drank and played Cards Against Humanity. We didn't fight that night, but there were times that we fought all the time. So there wasn't a fight that night that caused everybody to want to move out. It was just buildup of Amber wanting to move out over time because she was not happy living there.
Yeah, and I'm willing to believe the reason why is that Beck's attention was split between Ricky, Eric, and Amber didn't like that, so she wanted the full attention on her.
I would ask Beck, when living with Eric and Ricky, did they ever mention or say anything about how Amber was treating you? That era is hard to watch. It's hard to edit. Oh man. Because of how miserable Beck looks, and then the fact that Beck's family had an intervention, but Eric and Ricky still stayed friends with Amber.
I said the exact same thing. Like, why in the hell would you remain friends with Amber after everything she has done to your friend? On top of that, like, you lived in the same home with Amber and Beck, and you knew what was going on, and neither of you stood up and said anything, defended your best friend. You've known Beck for how many years, and you never once thought they need my help.
Yeah, there were times where they were like, especially when she would set the timers and stuff, they would be like, this is ridiculous. We don't understand why she does this or why you put up with it. There were other times where they just wanted to stay out of it.
I can understand staying out of relationship drama and not wanting to get involved in other people's relationships, but at the same time, there is a level in which you just have to stand up for your friend, because if they're not able to do it themselves, you have to intervene. And if you're just going to stand by and watch it happen, like, I don't understand how all of these people could say they're friends and yet not do anything to stop their best friend being just treated like that. I just don't get it. Because I've stood up for way less. And I would rather get in trouble from my friend for doing something wrong than standing by and watching something potentially bad happening.
I have no idea why they stayed friends with her after I stopped being friends with her, but I know that they said that they thought that she had changed at one point, but then they had another falling out with her, and then after a little while, they started talking to her again and visiting her, so I'm not sure what happened after that either.
Oh, I could definitely tell you the reason, mate. They are two-faced something-somethings.
What happened after the camera was turned off? Who's the one who's been wiping your ass live stream? Oh yeah, God, I don't even think I've thought about that, man. When you whispered to her who's the one who's been wiping your ass, she didn't look happy. What happened after the camera went off?
She was really mad about it. She told me that her audience is never going to let her live it down. And I think she told me to lie and say that I was just joking about it, but I'm not entirely sure.
That does happen to be one of the biggest insecurities that morbidly obese people have, which is admitting that they can't do something that an average sized person can do. Like, being able to do something as small as that is really, like, it's something you take for granted that most people wouldn't really ever think of, but someone may not potentially have that ability to do it, and it's incredibly embarrassing. So for Amber to constantly harp on about how her stamina's so good, or she can do this, or she can do that, not being able to wipe your own ass because you choosing to be overweight is hella embarrassing.
We've got a question from Jimmy Bunker, who you don't know who Jimmy is. He helps with the channel. He's one of my few friends. He's very nice. And he likes it. And he says, what's your favourite anime? I'm a huge fan of Full Metal Alchemist. You'll know what that is, Beck. I've not got a clue.
Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is one of the best animes of all time. It is like a go-to for anyone getting into the genre of anime. That being said, a few episodes in, get ready to have your heart broken. Just putting it out there.
もう一つ質問いいかな。ニーナとアレキサンダー、どこ行った？
I have a few different favorite animes. I like Demon Slayer, and I like Ranking of Kings, and I really like Attack on Titan. And I have started a Full Metal Alchemist, but I'm not in it very far.
Honestly, like, so many good animes out there, and Beck's got some really good choices, but like there's also Jujutsu Kaisen, Naruto, Bleach, there's Cowboy Bebop, Wolf's Rain, so many good ones.
Ask about the timer, like how did that even happen? Or another part of me is like, what did Amber expect to happen when Jade moved in and Beck was still there? Yeah, how did the timer thing even come about?
The timer thing started whenever I was wanting to go to the basement to hang out with our roommates and play video games. And Amber was invited to go along too, but she didn't want to go. There were plenty of times that she had been down there before, but this time she decided that she didn't want to. So she thought for it to be fair, she would allot me a certain amount of time to go down there by myself. And whenever the timer would go off, I would hear it, and if I didn't hear it, she would send me a text message and say that the timer is done.
I'm sorry, but like listening to those words, like that triggered something in me. I don't know what it was, but just hearing it's only fair. No, it is not fair. It is not your time. It is not your life. You don't get to allot shit. Like, oh my God. Amber, you can F all the way off. F off to the moon that you don't even believe in. Like, seriously. It's only fair that I tell you how you get to live. Bitch, please.
Did Amber ever express to Beck any... I don't know the right words. Did she have any kind of self-awareness during her bed-bound livestream era about how physically disabled she is, and did she ever have any care for how Beck was going to be able to cope for that? Did she have any self-awareness for her making herself disabled, and did she have any care for how Beck was going to be able to cope? Because that must have been very demanding.
She did talk about it, so it did seem that she was self-aware, but she didn't want to put in the effort to make a difference and change the situation. And no, I don't think that she cared or thought about how it would affect me.
I mean, like, we all know that Amber only cares about herself. Even when something bad happens to someone else, Amber will spin it around to be about her, because, you know, that's what, you know, Amber is, the empath.
Did there ever worry about the possibility that Amber's health would decline even further and that she'd get even bigger? And what they might have done had that been the case?
Yeah, I did worry about her getting bigger and how it would affect things, but I felt very powerless in this situation.
And that is a weird dichotomy, isn't it? Because, like, that was the worst situation Amber had ever been in, and she had no power, and yet Beck felt like they had even less power than Amber. Like, it is such a weird dichotomy, and that's just how good that Amber can be at manipulating and tearing someone down. Even when she is at the weakest point in her life, she still possesses the ability to harm someone else.
Oh no, I'm sure there was one more I just saw earlier with there. I asked the question before, but thought of another one. Does Amber really keep her old phones? I don't think I did ask this. Or does she have a second phone, one for YouTube and one for burner accounts?
Honestly, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I was going to say one for business, one for pleasure, but then, like, you know, honestly, it's a bit of both. Like, stock accounts and pleasure. Like, definitely scrolling on TikTok. You know, that app that's used primarily by children who are, like, underage. And, like, you know, say what you want about Amber, but she never speeds in a school zone. That joke's funny for two reasons. One, because she doesn't drive. And two, well, we all know the other reason.
And that is all for this video. I want to thank Mr. Snowflake for getting all of this together for me to respond to. And I also want to thank you guys for listening and watching. I know that this was a longer video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope to see you guys in the next one.
I mean, kind of. Like, I did enjoy it. It was really good, and your editing and art is amazing, but at the same time, it was a miserable video because of just how shitty Amber is. So, amazing job, Beck. You deserve all those subscribers and all the support. You're an amazing person, honestly, from what I have seen, and I really hope that you do have a really good future ahead of you. That being said, this is going to be the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoy, and hopefully get to see you lovely people in the foodie video. Bye-bye.